Okay, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. I'm Indira Tarachandra. I'm here on behalf of the St. Jamestown Community Co-op. First up, we do have Josephine Grey, who is going to give us a bigger overview of what is happening currently in the community and what needs to be done. Josephine?
Many residents were experiencing chronic food insecurity before, but it's become a real crisis because of the impact of the COVID pandemic. Lots of people have lost work, but there's also a lot of people doing essential work. And the wages that they're earning just simply aren't enough in many cases for them to be able to feed their family with the rising food costs. We have over 100 volunteers, 4 really dedicated staff, and doing our best. We also have a long waiting list, and that waiting list is growing. There are other food programs as well, and all of us combined are only able to reach roughly 3% of the households in the neighborhood. So this is stressful because we know that there's a great deal more need than that, given our poverty rate, given the profile of the neighborhood. I think it's important to know that 79% of our residents had employment income in 2016. So, it's a very hardworking community, but unfortunately the wages don't keep up with the cost of living. We know that at least 32% could not afford basic needs even back in 2016. So you can imagine how it would be now. And yet this community also has a lot of potential. There's a lot of great people here. At least 49% have degrees in higher education. There's a lot of skill, there's a lot of talent, and we can see through our membership and our volunteers how many wonderful people there are willing to really get together and do everything they can to support food security and support the health of our neighbors. So I think it's important to realize that, governments have a duty to intervene in situations like this. We're in a serious emergency. We're really hoping that today, with the collaboration and support of our wonderful elected officials who really care about the situation, that we're able to start to turn the tide and bring in some more supports, particularly from the provincial government, who we know has the duty, the power, and the money to make a really big difference. And provide a model even for how a community can support itself and help itself, and work with government and others and farmers and the like to ensure that there is healthy food for all families, for all individuals, for all the vulnerable people here. So with that, I'll turn it over and let our elected officials speak. And I guess we'll pass it off to Marci Ien, our wonderful MP, who I know was born in this community. So thank you so much for being here, Marci. And yeah, let's hear it from you. Thanks.
Josephine, it's me, it's us that should thank you and the group, your team that has done so much, that is serving the community so well. It's so good to be with all of you today. I'm really glad that despite the circumstances, they are unique, we can actually gather together virtually and discuss the need for emergency relief in St. Jamestown. COVID has been such a challenging time for all of us, and it really has been our government's priority to put the well-being of Canadians first. And we know that one of the hardest hit areas is St. Jamestown for all of the reasons that Josephine mentioned. It's a highly populated neighborhood. It's home to many marginalized groups and marginalized groups that work on the front line. I think the best way to support St. Jamestown during these challenging times is to collaborate with my provincial and municipal partners to create long-term and sustainable solutions. And I can assure you that we're going to do that. We're going to help the most vulnerable in this riding. Josephine outlined them well. She said, hey, we're only reaching 3%. We need to do a lot more, but I'm glad we were able to help there. A partner of the co-op, because Josephine talked about culturally appropriate food, which is so important in our community. The Anti-Amal Community Center also received more than $87,000 in funding from the Emergency Community Support Fund. So really pleased about that. But investing in our communities, by doing so, we are really investing in the well-being of our residents, and we're going to continue to do that. I know there's still a lot more work to be done, but the fact of the matter is that we will do it, and we're going to do it together. One of the key concerns that Josephine also mentioned is the lack of public space to run these effective programs to support the most vulnerable. And it's partly due to, a dense population packed into a very condensed space. So with limited space being an issue that many organizations, including this co-op, because I'm hearing it from so many others as well, they're continuing to emphasize this. I think it's important to acknowledge it is a valid problem. It's a real struggle. It has to be addressed immediately. And I'm so, I really believe that it's something that we've got to do collectively. I'm really here to work with all levels of government represented by Kristyn and Suze and me, just to come together and determine how we can create more spaces for programs to run smoothly, to continue to benefit our most vulnerable. And I will say this, solutions aren't created overnight, but we're here, and we're here together, and we're determined to get where we need to get. This pandemic has hit each and every Canadian. It's exacerbated systemic issues that have continuously been ignored. And we see how apparent it is in St. Jamestown. Plethora of racialized residents working on the front lines, all of that coming together. So working together is the only way to solve our shortcomings and build back a stronger community. And I look forward to continue doing just that. Thanks so much.
Marci, thank you so much for your comments. We will now move on to MPP Suze Morrison. Suze?
Thank you so much, Indira. Hi, everyone. My name is Suze Morrison, and I'm the NDP member of Provincial Parliament for Toronto Centre. I'm so grateful today to join Josephine and the folks at the St. Jamestown Oasis Food Hub as they call for resources and supports from all three levels of government to address food security, food sovereignty, and community resiliency here in St. Jamestown. Access to healthy, culturally appropriate, and affordable food is a key pillar of achieving community health and prosperity. St. Jamestown is one of the most densely populated and diverse communities in Canada, but it's also a community that has historically experienced some of the highest rates of poverty, food bank use, and food insecurity. No resident in this community should lack access to healthy, affordable food. And I'm so grateful to the St. Jamestown Oasis Food Hub for their research and their advocacy on that front. Communities shouldn't have to fight this hard to grow and sustain food programs that address the identified gaps in access and affordability for neighbors in this community. Meanwhile, we know that Doug Ford and the provincial government are sitting on more than $6 billion of unallocated COVID-19 relief funds that they refuse to spend and refuse to invest in our communities. Our province has resources that could be making a real difference here in our communities, and Doug Ford doesn't think it's his job to help people, and he doesn't want to spend the money. I am so proud today to offer my support to the St. Jamestown Oasis Food Hub and echo their calls to the provincial government to support increased access to healthy, culturally appropriate food here in St. Jamestown. I will continue to work with the Food Co-op to provide letters of support for their funding applications and advocate to any relevant ministry through my office. Well, what excites me the most about the work happening here in St. Jamestown is how this work can be used as a model for a new type of relationship between dense urban communities and farmers and Indigenous nations who are all working collectively to caretake the land, to steward the land, to farm in new and innovative ways, and to ensure safe access to affordable, healthy food for everyone. Dense urban centers are a key part of that relationship between Indigenous nations and farmers, and we need a new type of relationship and bringing these communities together in new ways, and that's entirely a key part of how we're going to move forward as we transition to a green economy in Ontario. This is exactly the kind of work we need to see more of. So thank you again to the folks at the St. Jamestown Oasis Food Hub, and know that I'm in your corner and I'm committed to working in partnership with both my federal and municipal colleagues to advocate for the supports that you need. Miigwech.
Suze, thank you very much for your comments. We will now move along to City Councillor for Ward 13, Kristyn Wong-Tam. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and it's really an honor to be here. I want to thank the St. Jamestown Community Co-op for bringing us together. I want to just acknowledge and say thank you to my colleagues from the Provincial as well as Federal Order of Government, Suze Morrison and MP Marci Ien. I really do value your words and also your ongoing advocacy for our communities here in Toronto Centre in Ward 13. The COVID-19 pandemic is much more than just about a coronavirus. I think we have all now on many occasions been reminded and has been highlighted for us that this virus has unveiled the social inequities. Much of it which pre-existed the pandemic, but it has been made worse by the pandemic. There is no longer the ability to hide poverty. People are hungry, people are hurting, and the suffering has gone on too long. And in some places in St. Jamestown, it has been obviously unbearable. So I think today's press conference is largely to try to highlight for those who are here in attendance that this community needs more support. Throughout this pandemic, what we've seen is the unequal transmission of the virus, especially as it impacts poor and racialized communities, those who are living in densely populated congregate settings, those who are living in St. Jamestown. We've also seen that people's housing as well as mental health and addictions conditions are starting to worsen because access to service has been dramatically reduced. In St. Jamestown, we're seeing a food security crisis, and we need to be able to do more to address this. Every resident should have access to healthy, culturally appropriate food. We know that healthy food is one of the social determinants of health. This is not recognized by myself exclusively. It's recognized by the Canadian Mental Health Association and many other different type of professional organizations. Next week at City Council, I plan to do just that. I plan to bring and advance the staff's work to ensure that investments and resources are flowing faster to this neighborhood than they have been before. I would thank staff and thank the City Council and thank the City of Toronto for all that they've done, but we need to do it more. We also need to get much louder, much louder. We need to ask and demand that the province unlock their coffers. They have been the one order of government that I can see that have not been doing enough. They're sitting on billions of dollars of reserves, and their money has not reached our communities, and they certainly haven't reached St. Jamestown. The major difference between the government supports that I recognize that is coming into our neighborhood is that the federal government is at the table, they are working with the city, but I'm not seeing enough support coming from the province. And I think that everyone who spoke today before myself can certainly concur to that. I want to support and continue to support the St. Jamestown Co-op's appeal to ensure that we have provincial government funding so that they can do the work that they need to do, so that the city can speed up and accelerate and expand our work so that we can reach those in our communities that are most vulnerable and most in need. And finally, I just want to end on this one particular point. St. Jamestown has been often called a world within a block. And it's basically, we have people from around the world that live in St. Jamestown. Every single one of them are cultural ambassadors. And they are an incredibly resilient and dynamic and diverse community, but we would have let them down. And to the residents of St. Jamestown, to the business owners, to everyone who lives as well as studies and invest in St. Jamestown, we need to reset that relationship. We need to prioritize your needs. We need to advance your voices, and we need to make sure our advocacy is coordinated, and we need to be there with you all time, today and into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your comments. Before we take questions from the media, I do want to say that if you visit stjamestowncoop.org, you will find links to our petition. We have a petition for space. Currently, it has over 10,000 signatures. It is directed to the mayor We need workable space in which to conduct our operations and continue the work that we're doing to support St. Jamestown residents. So we will open the floor up now if any media have questions. Now is the time.
Not media anymore, but just wanting to know if you might highlight for us a story or two. You know, there are so many people that need the food that you provide, and just maybe to outline what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for you, for your team, and the people that you serve.
Yeah, thank you, Marci. Well, there's quite a lot of large families, some of whom are refugee families. And luckily, through word of mouth, we've been able to reach some of them, and they're very grateful to have food brought to their home. And we're trying to customize and tailor boxes for their cultural needs, be they halal, be they vegetarian, various other things. You know, a lot of people are really happy to get things like cooking oil and like really good rice and stuff like that. You know, there's a number of single parents who are just overwhelmed with their responsibilities. It's really hard for them to, you know, get out of the house and source the kind of food that they really want for their families, but it's quite a journey to go around and get it here and there. We know we have some very isolated folks, elderly and disabled folks, who we provide hot prepared meals to, and people like that, you know, have really appreciated the fact that we care about them and that, you know, we see them and we know they're there. You know, not everybody is reachable by email, like we put up posters and the like. Unfortunately, there's quite a few people on the waiting list, and, you know, we had to stretch out our time so that more people could be receiving boxes, but it's only every 3 weeks. And we know that, you know, especially the large families need more than that. You know, we have seen folks who, you know, were scared and afraid to line up for food banks. They didn't feel comfortable to do that. So, you know, they're very grateful that we sort of protect their dignity. Like some folks come here from, you know, higher education and middle-class backgrounds and stuff, and they're just sort of, it's out of their realm of experience to line up for food that they don't even, it's not familiar to them and such. So, and myself, even my own family has benefited from time to time from some of the produce that we've been able to get from our farmers, you know, the organic eggs, you know, we've been fortunate to, you know, fill in a few gaps here and there as well. So I know that one of our staff who also lives here and is raising a family here is on the line with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aziki Huey, and I live in St. Jamestown, and I'm also a part of the co-op. And I'm also the volunteer coordinator. I am the one that actually organized getting out these boxes, which I'm actually working on right now. That's why I'm so sweaty. So I have 3 children, and I've been in St. Jamestown since 2017. August. I have an 18-year-old who is in university, so that's a challenge. I have a 16-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. So living in St. Jamestown and going through the pandemic, especially when it started, it was hard. I did not know how I was going to pay my rent. I did not know how I was going to actually provide food for my children. Because the work that I do, I have to go into homes, I have to go into apartments. So when the stay-at-home order came in, I totally lost all my jobs. Like every job that I had, I lost it. I just started a contract that March. I only did 2 weeks of work, then out of work. So the pandemic has really been hard on me. I have to be very innovative in how I'm going to actually feed my children, how they actually get to do their schoolwork. And then I see how the community is, and I see where everywhere I turned, everything was shut off. The food banks were shut off. The community center was cut off. If you went by the corner, there was no one giving you assistance. So there was a lot of families that was being left out. They did not have anywhere to go to get assistance. This program is very good for us. And believe you me, it has done a lot. If it wasn't for this program, I would not be able to keep up to how I eat. Going to the supermarket is not enough for me in terms of how I eat. I eat a lot of vegetables. So, and when vegetable prices go up, you have to pick and choose when you go to the supermarket. Do I get the cabbage this week? Do I get the pak chow this week? Do I get the callaloo this week? Do I get the lettuce? And I eat all vegetables. So where's the choice? There's no choice. You have to try and find a way how to balance the books. And with this pandemic, it's been hard. It's not just for me, but for a lot of parents. That's my 2 points.
Thanks so much, Ezeki. Yes, we're going to share a couple of pictures with you and take a quick look at the petition so you can see what it is. And you can see here a lineup for a truck that pulls up on Saturdays with some bread and the like. Yeah, these lineups sometimes get a little fractious and tense. Sometimes people start very, very early in the morning lining up for this truck. We're grateful that the truck comes, but it's a very unhappy sight at the same time. We collect food boxes from Food Share and the African Food Basket, and then we add more ingredients to those boxes. And then people come and put them in wagons, and then they take those wagons to the buildings. So that's where we're working from, as you can see. And we're so grateful for all the wonderful people who've been pitching in to help. We're just very, very fortunate that so many people care and they have the courage and they're willing to take the risk. You know, we're very careful with our COVID protocols, but as you can imagine, it's a lot of work.
We also, again, ask that you visit the stjamestowncoop.org website for more information on St. Jamestown and to see how you can help. Links are there for our change.org petition for space. Also, links are there if you would like to donate to the community. But it looks like, Joe, unless there's anything else, I think we've hit the nail on the head. There is a distribution this afternoon, so just feel free to contact us at any time. And we will do our best to get your stories to air. So we thank everyone so much, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for coming.